Hello guys, so that was asked to do a review on Malcolm, one of the dark midline attackers. So even though his kit hasn't been updated in a while, it's still extremely powerful, and because it hasn't been updated, it has certain things you wouldn't be awaiting in a regular kit and you will no longer find nowadays. So again, I'm just going to be looking at an EE level. He's basically meant to be used in midline, but I know a lot of people who've actually been using him in backline. So he is technically viable for that in Mono Dark. I would not advise using him in frontline, and he's extremely powerful in COT because of his insane Spirit Burn. So let's look at this kit. A skill, increase attack power and penetration 18%. That's again just pretty damn good. Penetration, increase attack power by 70%. That's cool, but the cool part follows. Recover 40% of the inflicted damage. So again, if you max out the active when you're near the end of getting all the skill points you need, it's good just because that means he's going to have a form of self-healing. I'm guessing, of course, you're supposed to have a Metatron, so it helps him. But it never hurts to have extra healing, especially at the beginning of the match, and try to win it fast. Sadistic Play, increase attack power by 30%, action speed by 20%. Knowing as Super Play, it's extremely powerful. You can stack it 5 times. This means you can get 150% attack power buff and 100% action speed buff. Knowing the cap is 100%, that means everything maxed right there. So that's why you're going to change a little bit the old build he used to have just to accommodate to this. Decrease the inflicted damage by 30% with a 60% chance of an attack and get another turn. So again, this is a little bit RNG-ish, is a little bit annoying, but you know, it's Super Play. We all know how that works, and it's really useful, especially when combined with Sadistic Play. Also, decrease action bar by 60%. And Spirit by 60% with an attack. Now this is where he really gains his value because 60% is a little bit more than half a bar. If you're penetrating 2 players, it counts for each player, so that's 1.2 bar. You Super Play, that's 2.4 bar right there. Make a forward pass, no one's using an active ever again. And that's how I used to use him back in the day. If you look at some of my old PvP videos, you're going to be able to see him. I'll see if maybe later on I can make a video about some gameplay too. So on a chain level, though, he really isn't that lucky. His basic best chain, I'm going to say, is Friendship with Lucid and Nemesis with Bell. Rivalry with William is also not that bad, but those are the only ones that should ever really activate in the current meta, unless you're doing PvE, but then again, then 2, 3, 4, 5, any star can be seen. Stone-wise, well, you got to think about one thing is when you look at his stats, Dribble is his lowest value. This means he will never be able to be part of the Reflex Wars. None of his skills give him Reflex. And for the love of God, he's dark. That's what they're made for. So we're going to be just buffing that attack power and giving him counter-attack resistance. Because what's the most important thing when running him, especially with some of the new leaders that are going to be added, and Dark finally got a burst ace penetration, who's going to be able to really work well with this. So what most people are going to try to do is they're going to put an FTS, that's a Fontis Tissue Sample. It does damage and counterattack resistance. Then they're going to put another one, usually a Dark Penetration. And for the last one, now this is going to be more specific to you. You can put a Dribble Stone. You can put a Speed Stone. The thing is, you just need to know that the Speed Stone, there's a 50-50 chance that you lose the entirety of its value again. It really depends how well built your Malcolm is, how strong is your team, what kind of managers you're running. So you might want that Speed Stone and then another Penetration Stone. Again, all those Penetration, FTS, the attack power, just stacking from Sadistic Play. So that's why attack power is not good, but you can try to get him some Dribble. Now, personally, what I did find was a little bit problematic was his survival. So instead, I more opted for the last slot being damage decrease stone, just because like that he takes less damage and he was able to attack a few more times, and that Spirit Burn was just so helpful. It allowed me to win the game much faster and just never let them use an active heal. Now it's going to depend what you want to do. Again, that was my personal take on it. He has extremely good synergy in light dark with lines of Beth, because the minute you give this guy critical rate with the attack power, the action speed, and then he uses his active, he's just going to be shredding through players. Victoria is a player that I usually used to put him up against, he would just shred through her. He would just pass through like nothing was happening, even without using his active penetration or even stealing from her. He was destroying her. So let's be honest, he has a lot of potential, but you gotta give him FTS, you gotta give him counterattack resistance, and you gotta know he will never be part of a reflex war. So if you're doing a counterattack resistance mid, he's also a great contender. Again, resistance-wise is not that great, so if you got anything buffing his survival anywhere else, a Metatron, if you got a Verisur in backline, if you got a DR Ace, this could all be really great for him. So that's pretty much how he works. Of course, you can try change the color of attributes for some different uniques, but honestly, he's one of the players where it makes the least sense. If I were to do it though, I would change the third slot to the Ardor critical damage just for that increased damage and just to watch him Shrek through everything, but that's more personal choice. And I know some people try to run Encompassing Soul, but unless you have a lot of critical buffers and in case they have a Silk, he's not capable of having enough critical value for it to be a sure bet. And then he can on top of it be reflex stoning, so I do not want to advise that to anyone. He has a bunch of skins. I personally find this one an abomination, so I'm not even going to talk about it. And this one does sound kind of cool. Someday maybe I'll get it, but I stopped using him the day I got Duke, so yeah. Well, I mean, Duke will beat an old school 5-star attacker from Season 1. That should normally happen. So again, if you have any questions, opinion, and just look at my old videos for some gameplay, but this should be the basics on what Malkin is and how he runs. Again, try to give him some crit, a little bit of survival, and he's just going to blast through everything. And it doesn't matter if he's holding the ball or they're holding the ball, he's just going to damage and walk out. And he's really good at taking Metatrons out and victorious. Have a good day, guys.